Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. Another week. Another week has passed.
Another week
Weeks feel like
closer
they're
to
about three
death.
and a half days long now.
I feel that it's all the same really. There's no weekends like there used to be. I think
Hmm.
that's more the common consciousness of like going into the office and working and I don't know. I think people seem although like gigging that seems bigger and better than it ever was. That you
That's
know
amazing.
everyone's together and they're definitely one louder. So yeah, I've this is a real phone call about help and advice
Okay,
you'll enjoy.
cool.
Well, sort of. I don't know if you'd call it cognitive dissonance that I'm going through, right? But I understand and totally agree with it's a no-brainer that the logic, the science behind determinism. I've had it bang to rights for 40 years. But the more I think about it and the more we have these conversations, like it should be, the more I question it because it feels like I have free will and I can't get over. It's like a scientist going home and he's suddenly got
Hmm.
Jesus in his head going, that's all nonsense, don't you? I did evolution. And so it's hard to take in all this information and get it and then go back to your own head where it feels like you're in control of your thoughts, even though I'm consciously going, well, I didn't think that. I didn't think that. I had no. And also, we're getting to this, but in the greater scheme of things, obviously, the first question that determinism throws up is moral responsibility. And,
Hmm.
I think I've got over that. I understand. But I think we have to go back to basics. Oh, I don't know where to start. Okay. Someone sent me a,
Let's start with the feeling that there's
yeah.
a contradiction between what you think you know intellectually and the experience of being a person, right? Because if you feel
Yeah.
like you have free will, but you know you don't in the abstract, well, then it can be hard to reconcile. And that really is where most people who agree with us are. I mean, most people think that we're condemned to live in the grip of this illusion.
Yeah. Well, you feel the same, I assume. You feel, I'm saying feel because I want to distinguish it from no, because I
Hmm.
feel, yeah, yeah. So we feel like we're making our own choices. We wake up and we have an idea and we want to do this and we have ambitions and we feel different. We feel like we have a self. We feel like an individual. We want to find the point and all these things you can bring back to what's the point if it's not me? I'm just a rock. Why bother? Why do I have these feelings? What are the point? If it's just chemical reactions, what? Just forget it. Just don't do anything. Just walk into walls. Why don't I just walk into walls and go, yeah? Why don't I just slug along the pavement going, yeah? If it makes me feel, why don't I just take just take heroin and sit in a bucket, just shouting abuse at people? Why not? Why?
Yeah, yeah,
You know
no.
what I mean? I went there too quickly, didn't I? I
Well,
went there way too quickly.
as we've established before, I have a lot of mumbo jumbo that keeps me in a different spot. So
Right.
actually, so for me, it is a matter of experience too. When I pay close attention to my experience, it actually is an agreement with what I think is true about determinism or determinism plus randomness. I mean, I
Yes.
see no evidence of free will in my experience, but that's not to say that that nullifies everything you just listed. So, I mean, yes, I can talk about ambitions and desires and goals and
That's what I
regrets.
mean. And I even agree with you to that extent that when I think about it, it confirms the lack of free will that I couldn't have that thought, I couldn't have that. But then why do I get excited when I come up with a joke?
Mhm.
Why do I get an adrenaline rush? Why do I feel pride? That's not me.
Because it's
It's not
money.
but how
You just see the money.
yeah. And why
Every
do I care
joke
about
is.
money?
Yeah.
Why do I care about money? Why do we care about anything? Why do I care about food? That's the thing
Well,
that
no, because that. Okay, so here's one non-contradiction. As much as you may be convinced about the illusoriness of free will and even experience it as illusory, right?
yeah.
You still have a preference between happiness and suffering, or between pleasure and pain. That's not a contradiction. I mean, your experience has a certain character, whether you have free will or not, and
Yeah.
eating the foods you like, and not being hit on the head with a hammer is still a preference.
Yeah, but I couldn't even choose those.
No, you can't choose your preference. I mean, the fact that you like the taste of one thing and hate the taste of something else is something you haven't chosen, but nonetheless, you do have that preference.
But then how people can recondition themselves? We've talked about
Yeah,
this, that I'm afraid of spiders, that's not my fault, but I could go through therapy to not be afraid of spiders. But why? Because at the moment, I don't like being afraid of spiders. But
right. We're
how
gonna
so
crack this spider thing. This is when we're gonna switch to video for one day, and we're gonna get you in
No,
proximity with various spiders.
no,
Uh,
we're not.
yeah,
Um,
this is
uh, uh, yeah,
it's just gonna be too good. But the
I don't want to be your experiment. That's why I'm just. I know it would be great watching and listening, but I
it would
don't
be
want to
my
give
it's my
anyone that
cause.
pleasure at my
Just
at my expense.
just think of how much benefit we'd bring to humanity showing that you could overcome this lifelong fear.
Yeah,
Though you'd given up all hope, you got to the other side of it and can testify now.
yeah, but my method is I want to die before I ever see another spider, which is another way of looking at things, isn't it? It's
You
like,
should carry like a cyanide capsule around your neck in case a spider appears. Then you know you can go out like a
yeah.
spy.
Or just look away, Sam. That's another method. He killed himself. Yeah. Why? Well, someone said there was a spider in the room. Why did he just leave the room? He didn't have free will. He had to.
But
So
let's address this concern. So yes, you could decide to overcome something that, a fear, or change your desires, or to grow in some direction, which seems like is born of your intentionality now to do it. But again, if you look at the mechanics of that whole process, I mean, let's say you wake up one morning and you decide to learn something new or to change something about yourself that takes effort. This too appears out of nowhere, and it appears precisely to the degree that it does. I mean, if you'll have whatever level of commitment to that new project that you have, and not a bit more, and whatever
yeah,
thoughts arise to contradict it or to support it, those are just appearing. I mean, you're not producing any of them.
no,
And on some level, even the most voluntary and deliberative behaviors are simply part of what's happening all by itself. And you can only ever do some subset of what is happening, right? You're not like there's the stuff that's happening to you, which clearly you're not in control of, like the weather,
yeah.
or, sounds in your environment that are just simply impinging on your eardrums. But then there are the thoughts and intentions and counter thoughts and counter intentions and everything else that's just arising, that is the proximate cause of your
But they're
behavior.
exactly the. But if but to be a determinist is to believe that those are the same things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even a logical strain of thought from before you were born to you thinking I'd like a cup of coffee is the same as the weather. You have no control of it, and it comes back to what are we then? What are we?
Yeah,
Why
but
are
you
we
have
proud of? Why are we proud of doing well, and why are we
within
proud of
but
doing good?
within a certain purview, you have, quote, control. But again, stepping further back, you see that even control and its success or failure and the effort that is producing it, all of that is simply more phenomena arising in the
Yes,
mind. Right? So
but that makes it exactly where that gets harder because even the term control, I think you have to justify. If you're
mm,
explaining to someone for the first time that they have no free will, that everything they do is just a cause and effect of the thing that happened before, the synapse jump in their brain that cause the next synapse jump in their brain, they're observers, they're vessels. How do you explain it that it feels like they're having over the even when we introspect and it arises without us I understand that, I get that, but why am I me? Why am I always like Ricky Gervais and I'm not like Sam
mm.
Harris? Why are we always Do you see what I'm
But
saying?
you could say the same thing about a specific waterfall or a building. I mean, why is St. Paul's Cathedral always like St. Paul's Cathedral and not like Buckingham Palace? Well, because it's over there. It's those stones are only where they are, right? And your
Well, that is
phenomenology is only
well,
where
that
it
is like
is.
saying we are literally, and not metaphorically or in terms of like poetry, we are literally a big mass of rock, aren't we? We are minerals. We're minerals and electricity and magnetism and phototropic. We're just blobs of things where all the laws of the universe just act out their thing because that's what we are. With
Well,
no
but even if you can be agnostic about all that too and still arrive at this conclusion, because even if we're more than that, even if we're immortal souls that are just integrated with the machinery of the physical body in a way that we don't understand, even if the Christians are right, or whoever, right? Even if we're a simulation on the hard drive of an alien supercomputer
right.
and we don't understand that yet, still everything is just happening, right?
Well, I agree. I don't even go to spirituality or things like that. I go to why do crystals grow in water like they do? We're like that.
Hmm.
We're just like that. But we've got this strange phenomenon of thought. That's the thing. Consciousness screws up everything because
But
it
it doesn't.
feels like
But
us.
if you just pay attention, you can see that thought doesn't buck this trend at all. I mean,
No,
you don't know what you're going to think next.
no,
The
I know.
thought
No,
just arises.
I am totally in agreement. At every step of the way, to me, determinism is a no-brainer.
Mm.
It's just true. So, and to the point where I accept that I'm a blob that things happen to. I should have no pride in anything I do, and that doesn't even depress me because I can't get over the fact that I am proud of things I do, and I have got my personality, and I do wake up and I feel like I do everything I want every day. That's nothing to do with me.
Right.
That's why it's so weird. That is so weird that I am a rock. I am a blob of atoms, accepting that I am a blob of atoms, right? With no pride. I should have no pride in anything I do or who I am or what I've done, but I totally accept that. Now
Well,
that's
that was
weird as well,
again the
isn't it?
pride. So for me, pride, and we should acknowledge the flip side, which is something like regret or remorse or guilt or shame, right? So
Yeah.
those things do fade under this consideration, but they have kind of close cousins that don't. And it is related to this distinction I made earlier around, preferences for certain life outcomes, right? The fact that it's all just happening does not nullify the difference between happiness and suffering. And so
No.
when you do something because you want a certain outcome in life and you get that outcome, right? You succeed at, let's say in your artistic enterprise, you could feel pride in a very self-directed way, like I did it, with no help from anyone else, and it could be self-ramifying, and
Yeah.
that's an illusion under this
Of
consideration.
course.
But the satisfaction with the life outcome, the satisfaction with the product, the satisfaction with the experiences that follow success rather than failure, that's different. I mean, that doesn't get canceled by this necessarily.
No. No. I know, and I suppose what I mean is you do things. You do everything. If you want to be a good person, if that's luck, I guess, isn't it? That you want to
Hmm.
be a good
Yeah.
person, and then we got to discuss what good is and where it comes from. So even if I do it, if you think that I'm a machine that wants to, and feels happiness at certain things, so I live my life to feel that happiness because that's what it is, isn't it? A good life is where you maximize pleasure and minimize pain, and within that is not hurting other people because guilt makes you
Mm.
feel bad, you feel shitty, so you rule that out, so you do good things. So I get that, but that seems to be a very thought out, man made morality, right? Which is luck because if it's just pleasure, if that's just the principle, then we know that some people like murdering people.
Right. Yeah.
They feel good when they
Yeah.
murder
And if
people.
and if we had brains and minds exactly like theirs, we would be exactly like them.
Yeah, and your analogy with a bear was very good, but of course there is still a leap that we can say, well, yeah, but a bear is different to us, and we'll get into religion in a minute. But I saw I said someone sent me this clip of a TED talk where this guy was talking about a real life situation where a middle aged man suddenly developed fetish for like child pornography or
Oh
something.
yeah. That was a
Uh,
famous case. I spoke about that on my podcast with Robert
oh,
Sapolsky.
right.
But what made this famous, justifiably so, he developed I forget it. I think it was frontotemporal dementia. It might
Oh,
have been
that
a
I said this guy said it was a
It
tumor.
might have been a tumor. I forget. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure what
yeah.
the neurological problem was, but whatever it was, it precipitated a fascination with child pornography, and he
Mm,
was caught with it on his computer.
yeah.
And when he was prosecuted, even though the neurological pathology was not remotely debatable, the science was in, the judge found the child pornography fascination so reprehensible that he was sent to prison for it. And it was a complete failure to integrate a rational understanding of the
Ah,
brain
well, the guy
into our justice process.
yes, well, this was told slightly different because I didn't even know about the justice bit because the way the guy told it, maybe I don't know which bit's true, but he said the guy developed fetish for child pornography the day before he was due in court. He was rushed to hospital. They found a brain tumor, and he said at that point everyone is sympathised with him because it's not his fault. And then they cured him, and then a few years later, he started thinking about child pornography again, went to the doctor, and a little bit had grown back.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
his to show that when we see something physical making us do something like that, we sympathize with the person. He said, but we none of us chose our brain, none of us chose where we were born, none of us chose our genetics. So he said, by the time you've got an identity, you've already got it. You can't choose what you do, which is coming back to, and what I like about that is everyone hates cancer and knows that's an evil thing making us do evil things and we forget it. We forgive it. Do you know what I mean? It's like a personification of this,
Yeah. Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
devil made you do it. But when we just talk in, well, some people are serial killers, we can't forgive them. We go, well, yeah, but that's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, so my argument there is that it's simply too complex, and we don't yet understand the neurophysiology of being an evil bastard yet. But
Yeah, I know.
there's no question
Well,
that there is a neurophysiology underpinning it, and it was not chosen by anyone, and therefore, on some level, it is brain tumors all the way down. They're
that's
brain
right.
tumors that are just more complicated. But if we
Yeah,
understood
exactly.
them,
They're
they
just
would be
cells.
just
Yeah.
as mechanical
Well, this
as a
is
brain
where
tumor.
this is where there is a crossover with religion. That the argument about what is good without a big moral arbiter, without someone saying, well, this is good and this is bad. We make it up amongst ourselves, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with society deciding what's good and bad, and it's complex and it's nuanced, but I can live with that, right? And we're all different, and we have arguments about what's right and wrong, but there are some believers who believe rather like this: they are vessels and they're guided by God. Now, all they've done there is swap. When
Hmm.
we talk about the cosmos, we're talking about the laws of the universe, and they've just given it a will and a name and a white beard, and they sort of believe the same as determinists to a certain degree, don't they? That if they just go, God, make me do the right thing, whatever happens, happens. Two boxers, they both pray to the same God and they fight, and one of them believes that, yeah, God,
Well,
God liked me more. He wanted me to win.
I mean, most believers believe in free will. I mean, this is a way of getting God off the hook for human evil, right? I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't get him off the hook for smallpox or anything else, but they imagine that God set up the game, but he gave us free will in how we play it, and therefore all of our sinning and our failure to turn to him makes us culpable for our error.
well, they do get around it because I've said that as well. Like when someone said, on Twitter arguments with about the morality, and people say, well, why do some murderers go unpunished, and well, because God gave you free will to sort it out and do that, and He's not involved. And then someone says, "What about earthquakes?"
Hmm.
And they go, "Well, He sends tests.
Right.
He sends tests, right,
Yeah.
right."
Sometimes
And
very
we,
big tests that kill everybody.
yeah, and very specific
Yeah, the,
parts
the,
of
the Lisbon earthquake was famously a
I
hard
know.
test.
Yeah, of course. But we laugh at it because we don't believe in God. But you can, that is, it can work. I think if you believe in an all powerful being, you can make it work because I think He moves in mysterious ways. That's hard to get over
Mhm.
if you really believe that. That's
Well,
and you're
there's
right. It is a God of the gaps, and it does close down the argument
well,
because we
well,
know that a
it's an
random God is the
unprincipled
same as yeah,
it's an unprincipled move because you're
yes,
resorting to mystery over here, but on the other side of the conversation, you're telling us it's completely worked out and you
yeah,
understand what's
yeah.
going
You're
on.
cherry picking.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the good bits He did, all the bad bits.
yeah,
Even down to we've talked about this before, but why doesn't He just kill the devil because he's screwing it up?
yeah, yeah,
Just get rid of him. Get
yeah,
rid of him. It's
yeah, yeah. Why not win that particular fight?
just that one.
Yeah.
That would sort it out, wouldn't it? That would be heaven. That would be heaven on earth, surely.
Okay,
Um,
but there's one thing we glossed over here, which confuses almost everyone on this point, which is if what we're saying is true about determinism, then what about moral responsibility? How can you react to the bad behavior of other people differently than you react to a change in the weather? Because when it suddenly starts raining, I don't feel like I have to mete out justice to the clouds. But if
hmm.
someone punches me in the face, I'm now reacting to a person who I think should be behaving differently than they are. And
Well, that's only one side of the term of justice, isn't it? Retribution, because the big one is even if you don't blame them, they're a machine gone wrong. You have to
mm,
put it on the scrap heap or make it safe. For the
yeah,
good of everyone else.
yeah, but it is
That doesn't bother me.
it is I think there's a near cousin to blame that gets preserved even under this analysis, but it is slightly different. I mean, so I think the feeling that someone should have done other than they did a moment ago is not really a statement about. It's more future oriented. I mean, it's more a matter of what you will demand of them next time or expect of them next time. So if someone accidentally bumps into you, well, because it's an accident, you don't have any negative expectation of what they're going to do next, right? I mean,
No,
they'll say they're sorry and it was not intentional. And then, okay, so you're not expecting further harm from them. But if
that's
someone
right.
intentionally harms you, now you know you have a problem in the next moment because it says something about the nature of their mind. It says something about, how you fit into their plan. And so then you have a problem to solve, and the question is how best to solve that problem. And yeah, I mean, it comes down to this
But there could be
preference
a
between
point.
happiness and suffering in the end.
Yeah, but you could say it's not just that they're no longer a threat because you still feel justice. If someone came in and was stabbing people, but then they slipped, and hurt their back, they couldn't move, they could never harm
Hmm.
anyone again. You'd still want to have the conversation, but can we talk about all the stabbing you did
All the
before you hurt
stabbing
your
that
back?
happened before your fall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's but we have a built-in sense of justice because there we'd go, he suffered enough, you know, he
Mm.
stabbed all the people, but now he's never going to do that again. What if
Well,
he
it
wasn't
is
sorry?
interesting. There are these crimes that occasionally occur where somebody does something heinous, but it's pretty obvious that they're never going to do anything like that again. I mean, the circumstances were so peculiar. Or, I mean, actually, the most interesting cases are cases where there's so much luck involved that it
Yeah,
really is like, I mean, just take, drunk driving where, someone drinks and, winds up killing another person and then we punish them for it. But it's pretty clear that, first of all, they're doing something that millions and millions of people have done and simply gotten away with it. So there's a massive element of bad luck in it, right? And we know this person in specific cases, certain people are incorrigible and this is kind of repeat behavior, but there are cases where someone has killed someone based on their negligence, but it is obvious that their life is also ruined and they're never going to do anything like this again, and yet we still punish them for it because we need to set an example for a cautionary example for the
Because
rest of society.
because they broke a law that was there to stop them doing that.
Right.
And the car is a very dangerous thing. You could equally say, if you get drunk and you start shooting your gun into the air, but you didn't know someone was upstairs. Well, yeah, but to be honest, you're not meant to get drunk and shoot your gun in the air. So it's, I think, I know what you mean, that there's you could do it. Someone who, if drink driving's the bad thing, then anyone who drinks drives should get the same sentence as someone who drinks drives and kills someone. That's what you're saying, really.
Is that how you say it over there in England? Drink drive?
Yeah, drink drive, yeah,
I've
drink
never heard
driving.
that.
Yeah,
You sound already
yeah.
drunk talking that way.
Well, I think it is now a matter of not drunk driving, it's drink driving. Like, I think, I don't know what the units is, but you mustn't. I mean, I think it should be just don't ever drink. Don't have a. The problem was that people, I think, used to let them decide for
Well, no,
themselves. Like,
you've taken the other precept. You just don't drive.
yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
literally
that is
never drive.
yeah,
You can drink
I
as much as you
drink
want.
instead of drive. Exactly. No, that's just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd be very unlucky
Right.
if I got done for drink driving. Like,
The
I'd be
first time
really,
he's always drinking. The first
yeah.
time he attempted to drive, he killed someone.
You see, now that really does show it that the dangerous bit is being in a car,
Yeah.
a big scary car, because
Yeah.
drunk walking. No one's ever got done for drunk walking.
Yeah, well, except
He
for,
walked along, he knocked over an old lady, and she died. He was drunk walking. Why
well,
wouldn't you ever get done for
except for all
drunk?
the drunk stabbing that you do.
Oh,
The
exactly,
stabbing
yeah.
bit is
But jogging, drunk jogging. He was big. He was a big guy. He was 300 pounds. He had a lot of wine. He went out jogging, and he absolutely knocked an old lady
the
flying
truth is
and killed her.
if you can imagine it, it has happened to somebody. That's
I
how
know, yeah,
crazy human history has been. There's been 100 billion of us.
yeah.
If you can form the sentence, is someone
What about
somewhere
that
has done
then?
it.
What about that morally? Right? There's two drunk joggers. One's really one's really
Obese.
small and
Yeah.
skinny. Yeah, one weighs 100 pounds and one weighs 300 pounds, right? The first day, the skinny bloke goes out and he bumps into an old lady and he goes, "Oh, sorry." The second day, the big fat bloke's drunk. He runs out, knocks her flying, caves her head in, and she dies. Right? Why is he more culpable? Because that's just physics. That is just
This
physics,
is we
isn't
punish
it?
the fat man. Yeah.
Yeah, Newton is just as culpable as
Right.
that big fat thing in a tiny thing, right?
This is, I mean, this is the same issue. There's a phrase that a philosopher Thomas Nagel used
Mm,
decades ago in a famous essay, and the phrase is moral luck, and it's just how
yeah,
much of our morality, the moral salience of various outcomes, is due to just sheer luck.
yeah, yeah. Well, of course.
You're the wrong body type, or you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you are now culpable for something that many other people before you have who've behaved in precisely the same way have gotten away with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can square that though, can you? Because what can you do? How can you can't really,
Well,
because you could say,
this is why
uh,
people's intuitions about free will are often mistaken, because I mean, even after recognizing that it's an illusion and everything is just happening, there's still a role for influencing human behavior, because precisely because we have no free will. I mean, people can be influenced, they can be persuaded, they're no not everyone is condemned to behave precisely the way they did yesterday, and therefore we should punish people and tax people and fine people and do those things whenever they are the best way to actually minimize future human suffering. If you fine people for parking their cars in the wrong place, they won't park their cars there anymore. I mean, if they're parking their cars there, you simply raise the fine, and then all of a sudden your streets are clear. And so it is with other behaviors, insofar as they're deterrable. I mean, some things are not, it turns out, very deterrable, and we have
Well,
to deal with other.
I think that that is what some rule, the highway code in driving is just if everyone does that, then no one crashes. It's when someone thinks, oh, well, this is a rule. I can sort of do this. I can probably, sneak around that. That I can do a U-turn or whatever. And a lot of people do it and they don't crash. But when they do crash, they get done for it. Whereas, yeah, you're right. If it's the rule breaking that's the be all and end all, then the outcome is irrelevant.
Hmm.
So if you do a U-turn and no one dies, and then you do a U-turn and 5 people die, they should get the same punishment if it's
Well,
about
yeah, I mean,
the
this is the role of luck. I mean, the reason why we punish, actually, the really common case now, I mean, drunk driving has enough moral opprobrium attached to it that people aren't all that sympathetic when something bad happens. But
no.
take the case of texting while driving, which is something that
Yeah.
virtually everyone who drives has done, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are degrees of it, but I mean, everyone has checked their phone or interacted with their phone in a way that was objectively stupid in that it took their attention off the road. Virtually everyone has gotten away with it, except the thousands of people every year who wind up running over someone in the crosswalk or killing a person in another car. And that
Yeah.
and so it's an absolute menace. I mean, it's increased pedestrian deaths, and yet people are getting away with it. When you look at the difference between what it's like to get away with it, which is
Well,
nothing, and what it's like to
yeah,
actually run over someone's kid and have your life completely
of
changed,
course.
it's rather stark. But
But we do know if they do the same thing and one they run over someone and one they don't, it is as bad. But the complication here is you only know about it when you
yeah,
knock someone over.
but but
Because if you
but there's
text
there's a further complication. The person who's texting, who winds up killing someone's kid, I think we can be reasonably sure that person from now on will never text behind the wheel of a car again, whether we punish him or
yeah,
not, right? Like that person is
right.
now going to be a safe driver. And the person who's texting, who just texted and got away with it, is going to be a menace tomorrow, right? So it's
That's an amazing oh my god, that's an amazing point.
so who should we punish? I mean, I mean,
Right,
the
that's
punishment is
as a moral dilemma, that is mind-blowing, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, one is more dangerous, and one is already suffering. I mean, can you
I mean,
imagine the suffering of someone?
it is totally dependent on the truth of the premise that if you kill someone, you'll never text again. But I think it's a very yeah, no, it's a fair
I mean,
it's a
that's
fair
just
guess.
talk about a life deranging event. I mean, the level of guilt, remorse, shame attached to that. It's just it's hard to think of anything worse. I mean, and then you have whatever. I mean, just you literally have the text that was the price of admission to that hellscape, right? So you have what was the text? LOL. I mean, what necessary conversation were they having at 50 miles an hour?
Yeah.
It's just got to be absolutely lacerating, and yet it's that person currently. That person will very likely be punished severely because we need to make examples of people to stop other people from texting while driving.
Well, I don't want to. You're saying about the text being there, a monument to terrible event and the end of your life as well. I've often thought that I don't want to die an embarrassing death. Like if I die by sitting on a spike,
Mm.
right, and the spike goes up my ass and out my head, right? There is no way anyone in that church, when the vicar says something like died tragically with a spike going up his ass, they'd laugh.
Yeah,
I hope they'd be sorry for me, but I wouldn't blame them if the vicar had to read out how you died and someone died with a spike going up, then you got to allow the congregation to have a little giggle, haven't you? Really,
Yeah.
because it suddenly outweighs the tragedy,
It's
doesn't it?
it is an added misfortune to have a death that is always just has an unignorable comedic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy, and I don't know if this is true, but it's been around in all those sort of like, magazines of freak accidents. There's a guy that they found under an avalanche where he died shagging a chicken, right? So
No,
there's this
seriously?
guy, yeah,
Yes.
right. But no one ever thinks about the avalanche or him dying. That
Just the
chicken
chicken.
on the end of his knob, right? That's and, also, and of course, maybe what if
What
he
if he wasn't?
some
What if
people
he was completely innocent, just walking past a chicken, but the avalanche, if
that would be terrible. Yeah, yeah. Because of course,
just
when
the
you
physics of getting caught in the avalanche
well, also
consummated that union.
everyone knows that in heaven you as you were and as you died as well. So he's walking around heaven
Yes.
with
This is
embarrassed
the
for
chicken man. Yeah.
eternity. Chicken man,
But
yeah.
he
Even
brought the chicken into heaven with him because chickens
yeah, I
don't
know.
normally make it to heaven.
No, I know. The chicken's loving it. The chicken is loving being in heaven. Even God sort of smirks. Even God smirks now
Found
and
a
again.
loophole. Yeah. The damn chickens. I mean, he's trying to keep the chickens out for millions of
That's
years.
that's the other thing as well, that no one ever sees a ghost with a chicken on the end of their knob. They see them carrying their head, right, and like floating in their wedding
And
dress,
dragging
but they never
chains.
saw. No,
Something about the
yeah,
chains. Yeah.
no one would ever. If they did see that, they'd know to leave that out of the story because people wouldn't believe
Mm.
them. They go, a naked man came in. What else? Nothing. Are you sure? He had a chicken on his cock. Did he? Yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. Well, it started off as an interesting
We
conversation
started
about free
philosophical.
will
Yeah.
and morality, and we ended up with a bloke with a chicken on his knob. So
I think we can detect your influence on this conversation. Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah.
That was good. Well, I
Well,
think.
cheers.
Well, yeah. Cheers, man. See you soon.